Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be installing an EVH DTuna on the Music Man Axis EX that I picked up not long ago. Going to show you a couple of tricks, a couple of tips to make it easier and hopefully help you understand how the DTuna works and to alleviate some of the problems that a lot of people see with them. So let's get started. You can see here that I've already loosened up my string. Basically, the only tool that you're going to need, other than what they give you in the packet here, is your locking nut Allen wrench. So just loosen that up, loosen up the string, and then you'll need it again for the other end here. So basically, get your string tension where it's loose enough that you can, like you're going to change a string, just get that loosened up there. And we'll go ahead and we'll loosen up this locking screw, and we're going to be changing this screw out for one of the two that come into the package here, and we'll talk about which one to use when you get to that. Now obviously one of the things that you need to make sure when you're using the DTuna is that you have a guitar that your Floyd Rose is in decked, or you have a trim lock on the other side. One of the things that's important is that you have enough tension on that as it's decked so that when you pull the DTuna out, it doesn't allow the trim to move upwards, or if it's in a floating position, it wouldn't work because you're relieving tension and it will change the pitch of the other strings. So you have to make sure that your Floyd is decked, or you have a trim stopper on the other in the cavity of the spring claw. So, all right, so first thing we're going to do is take this out, like I said, so let's get on with that. We'll remove this screw and we'll set this aside. Make sure to be careful with the finish of your body. If you've got a little towel or something, may not be a bad idea to just set something down to protect the body of the guitar as you're working on it. I know that a lot of guys have cringed before when they say that I'm working on something and I'm not covering the guitar, so we'll do that today. We'll cover that up. All right, so we have that out and we've set that screw aside. So what you're going to do now is decide which of these that you're going to use. They give you two. One is slightly shorter than the other. Hopefully you can see that on there. And what you'll look for is basically the two different sizes. If you look here at the portion where your saddle mounts, typically on a Floyd Rose you'll have two areas that it can mount down. You'll have a screw in the back and then one towards the front. And if your saddle for some reason should screw into the one in the front, for intonation purposes, you would likely need to use the longer screw. But the majority that you're going to see, this saddle is going to be mounted in the rear position. So you'll use the shorter of the two screws that they give you here. So we're going to go ahead and use that one. We're going to pull that one out here, if I can get it out. And we'll set this here. You also notice that they give you in the package here the DTuna itself. We'll set that aside. Then you have this little tiny spring that you sometimes just gotta get a little screwdriver or something. It's compressed in there. And there we go. We'll just pull that out. Be careful not to lose that. And then they also give you this little adjustment Allen key here, and that's for the little E-tuning adjustment once you have the DTuna in. So that should be everything that we need out of the packet. Close that down and we'll get started. So this was the one that came out, and this is the one that we're going to use. So you see a little bit of a length difference there. And the reason is so that you have enough room for this assembly or this housing to move properly on that. So we've chosen, like I said, the smaller one. So first things first is get your little spring that you pulled out. You're going to slide that down on the screw that you've chosen to use. and then you'll slide the DTuna right on top of there, like so. All right, and that spring is obviously what's going to help to assist that going back and forth and to keep it moved out of the way when you engage the DTuna. A lot of times what I'll do too is, and I've showed this on other videos, is you want to make sure for operation that everything is nice and smooth. Make sure that you don't have any burrs on this right here where this feels pretty smooth. What I can do here is I just have this little cleanup cloth here. I'm just going to make sure that everything is cleared off of there. There's no debris, there's no burrs. I don't feel any issues with anything sliding on this, so I think this is going to be fine. I have in the past taken a little bit of sandpaper and cleared this up just a bit, and that seems to help with the smoothness of the movement. So that's one thing that you can do. And then the other really important thing is on the back side of the Floyd here. Let me move this so hopefully I can show you. We'll tilt this up just a bit here. All right, can't tell if that's in the shot or not, but right in here, this little spring that's underneath here, what you're going to want to do is get you something to push this and take just a bit of that tension off. You know, push that and relieve just a little bit of that tension. On the USA models of the Wolfgangs, you'll see that that is not even there. It's taken off. So just get something to take a little bit of that tension off of there. I've in the past taken and kind of pulled my bar up a little bit and gotten a little needle nose or something like that in there and just removed a little bit of that tension so that it's not pushing so hard on the bottom of the DTuna. All right, so let's get back in shot here. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get it put in. Oh, one other thing before I forget, the fine tuning screw right here, make sure you can go ahead and run that down a little bit and kind of get that spring out of the way, and get you a little piece of sandpaper or something and just make sure there's just no burrs whatsoever on the bottom of that. You can try to go ahead and screw this out, but these have a little bit of a tension on them, so if you pull them out, when you put them back in, they're going to be a little bit loose. So I recommend just running that down, moving that spring out of the way, and just making sure that there's no burrs. You could hold a little piece of sandpaper like I have my finger here, and then just kind of run this up to make sure there's nothing on the bottom of that fine tuner screw. Because if you have something on there that's gripping the top of the DTuna here, it's going to make it a nightmare to get that in and out. So the whole thing about the proper and smooth operation of these is just to make sure everything's clear, there's no burrs, there's nothing that's going to prevent movement either on this here or on the top here with the fine tuner adjustment screw. So let's go ahead and get this in, and we'll get it set up and we'll get it checked out. So get my string back over here. All right, once again, just your Allen key that you use, and push that spring down, get it out of the way, and make sure that the DTuna, as you start screwing this in, it's going to want to flip on you a little bit. So just make sure it stays upright, because if you get too tight here and that thing's upside down, you're going to have a hard time getting it back in the right position. So we'll just screw this in a bit, and we're going to make sure that this stays outwards through the operation here. Let's get our string back in, and we'll get it tightened down. All right, let's see. All right, and we'll give it a good snug here. There we go. And we'll snug that string down. Make sure we've got it there, and we are good to go. Okay, we've moved over here to the main studio, because when you tune your guitar and you set up the DTuna, or if you're doing any tuning on a guitar, you want to make sure that you have it in a playing position where you're normally going to be playing it so that everything gets set up properly. So we still have this unlocked here, and I know you can't see my tuner down there, but we're going to tune it. All right, so there's my D right there. So you always want to tune it with it out and in the D position. And then once you get that, you're going to go ahead and lock it down. All right. All right, so we'll lock that down. Double check that we're in a D, which we are. All right. So one thing that I may not have mentioned is that when you're setting this up, make sure that your fine tuner for the E is all the way up. You want it to just barely touch that nut screw that's in there, if at all. On this one, when I round it up, it really doesn't even really touch. I mean, it's just barely sitting on there. And that'll give you the most freedom of movement that you can get out of the DTuna. Okay, so now we need to make sure that our fine tuner is set for the E. So we're in D, and I'll just turn this on so you can hear it. So there we are. We're in D, and as we go up, push it in. We'll make sure that we're in E. I can already tell that I am. But you get your little fine tuner, and if you're flat, you tighten it down just a bit. If you're sharp, you loosen it just a bit. But you always make sure that you tune to D first, then push it in, and then make your adjustments with your fine tuner to E. So I can already tell that everything is all proper where it should be. Let's see how she sounds. Sounding pretty good. So there you go. Simple, easy to use, and shouldn't be too complicated. Just make sure everything is clean. Use the right size locking screw here, and be sure that your fine tuner is up as far as you can get it. And pretty simple installation. Shouldn't be too difficult, and just a really great little thing to have. I think I have this on pretty much every one of my Floyd guitars that I've got, and I get frustrated when I don't have one on a guitar. So I like them. It's really good piece of equipment, and really simple to use and easy to install. So there you go. We'll see you on the next one. If you like what we're doing, the information was helpful, give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time. So appreciate it.